In the last class, we discussed the noise in delta modulator. Okay, so in this class, let us compare the pulse code modulation systems and delta modulation system. Okay, so as I said, whenever you want to compare two entities, so you should compare on the same ground. So we like both the systems to have the same bandwidth for comparison. So that is a very key point. Both the systems must have same bandwidth, otherwise you cannot compare. Okay, so let's say we are using a sampling rate of fs. This is for PCM. Okay, and we know quite well how to select the sampling rate, right? It depends entirely, the sampling rate depends entirely on the bandwidth of the signal, and it is governed by a criterion called or a theorem called Nyquist theorem. Right, and let's say capital W is the bandwidth of the signal m of t, message signal m of t. Now this Nyquist theorem says that the sampling frequency fs must be at least 2 times of the bandwidth of the message signal m of t. Okay, and similarly, let me call f suffix s dash be the sampling rate of delta modulator. Okay, so sampling rate of delta modulator, and this sampling rate is this sampling rate is the same as the bit rate, right? So this is equal to same as the bit rate in delta modulation, but not in the pulse code modulation, because bit rate and sampling rate are the same in delta modulator. For each sample, you are transmitting only one bit in delta modulation. Okay, whereas in the case of pulse code modulation, bit rate is n times, bit rate is equal to n times the sampling rate fs. Okay, so where n is the number of bits which are used to represent the pulse code modulation, represent the each sample in the pulse code modulation. Okay, where n is the number of bits being used to represent each word or each sample. So the bit rates in the two cases are NFS in pulse code modulation and FS dash in delta modulation. And if your signal has bandwidth W, then we know that Fs is equal to 2W as per the Nyquist criteria. Now, as I said, whenever you want to compare the two systems, then the both systems must have the same bandwidth. Okay, therefore it is clear that if you want that the two systems to have the same bandwidth, then your Fs dash must be equal to n times Fs. This is the bandwidth of delta modulator, and this is the number of bits or bit rate, or in fact instead of calling bandwidth, I can say bit rate of delta modulator, and this guy is bit rate of pulse code modulation. If they are not equal, then you cannot compare. Okay, so the comparison is done on the basis of equal bandwidth or same bandwidth. Now the bandwidth is more or less related to the bit rate. You want the same bandwidth means you want to have the same bit rates. Same bandwidth implies same bit rate. because each bit is represented by a pulse, and that pulse has certain bandwidth, right? Suppose if you want to send 1 and this 1 is, you can represent a pulse like this. If you want a 0, then you can represent 0 like this, and this pulse is associated with a certain amount of bandwidth. If you take Fourier transform, then you will come to know the bandwidth of these pulses. Okay, so when I say same bandwidth, same bit rate, that means identical bit rates you can expect, or at least similar bandwidth. Therefore, this f suffix s prime is, I am sorry, this is not prime, I am very sorry, this is fs. Fs suffix prime is equal to n times fs. Therefore, the bit rate of the delta modulator should be equal to this one. So, bit rate of the delta modulator is fs prime must be equal to n times the sampling rate, because each sample is denoted by n number of bits. So, essentially for each sample you are transmitting n number of bits. So, this is the bit rate of the pulse code modulation. Now, from the Nyquist criterion we know that fs is equal to 2 times w. So, this is n times 2 times w. So, 2nw. This is the fs prime. Okay. So, let me consistent with the notation. So, let me use capital N here, number of bits. No, it won't make much difference. That's it. Therefore, fs prime is equal to 2 capital N w, where n is the number of bits for each word, and this is the maximum frequency or bandwidth of message signal, m of t. Okay, and fs is equal to 2w. Okay, therefore the bandwidth is essentially related to the maximum pulse width that you can have. The maximum pulse width that you can have depends on the bit rate that you use. Suppose, how do you choose the pulse width? The pulse width is depends on the bit rate. Okay, so therefore the bandwidth is proportional to the reciprocal of the pulse width. So this is a general statement, and again this width depends on the bit rate. So that's the reason bandwidth depends almost on, at least the large extent, on the bit rate. Okay. To the same extent, it may depend other functions like the pulse shape. What type of pulse you are going to use? Are you going to use like this, or you are going to use a pulse like this, or are you going to use a pulse like that? It depends on the pulse shape also, but to the large extent it depends on the width, and the width depends on the what you call the bit rate. So we have determined the relative sampling rates of PCM system and delta modulated system, which will have similar bandwidth. So these two guys must be same in order to compare. For the PCM system, if the sampling rate is 2W, then correspondingly for delta modulated system it should be 2NW for it to have the same bandwidth. So we can go up to a sampling rate of 2NW without exceeding the bandwidth that you will be using up in the pulse code modulation system in any case as in the delta modulator. Therefore, let us now do the computation for signal to quantization noise ratio in both the cases. So let us find out the signal to noise ratio or signal to quantization noise ratio in both the cases. First, let's calculate for the PCM, which we know, okay, which you know the result already. We have already calculated that. So the signal to noise ratio is precisely equal to Q squared minus 1. What is Q? Q is the number of quantization levels, and Q is typically large in in a typical communication system. Okay, so we can more or less assume this is equal to q squared. Let's say suppose if you are using 256 level quantization, then it is going to be 256 whole squared. So it's a huge number, right? It's a big number, 256 whole squared. So in that case you can avoid this one. So roughly I can say, or approximately I can say, SNR of my PCM system is q squared. It is equal to q squared. And we know that q is the power of 2, right? So q is equal to 2 to the n, where n is the number of bits. So what is q squared then? This is 2 to the n whole square, that is 2 to the 2n. Therefore, signal to quantization noise ratio n suffix q of PCM is equal to q squared, this is 2 to the 2n. Similarly, for the delta modulator, that also we calculated in the previous lecture. Delta modulator is equal to 3 by 8 pi squared times Fs prime divided by W. This is the formula that we derived in the last class. Please go through the last class notes. Okay, refer last class. Now substitute for Fs dash, then you will get 3 by 8 pi squared multiplied by 2nw whole cube. After simplification, this is going to be 0.3 n to the cube. This is signal to the quantization noise ratio of delta modulator. Okay, and this is for pulse code modulation, and this is for delta modulation. Therefore, for a fixed bandwidth, what can you say about the relative performance of the PCM and the simple delta modulator? Which is superior, right? Can we say pulse code modulation is superior or delta modulation superior? See, now I can compare both the guys, because both the pulse code modulation and the delta modulation uses the same bandwidth. By looking at these two expressions, let's say 1 and this is 2, by looking at the expressions 1 and 2, we can say that PCM is obviously superior for almost any value of n. Okay, you can substitute n is equal to 8 or n is equal to 4 or 2, like that you can compare. Okay, so signal to quantization noise ratio of PCM is equal to 2 power 2n, and signal to quantization noise ratio of delta modulator is 0.3 n cubed. Okay, substitute n is equal to, let's say, 8. So in this case 2 times 8, that is 2 to the 16. So this 2 power 16 is roughly some 64,500 something will come, and this is going to be 0.3 times 8 times 8 times 8, so 8 64 times 8, you know how much it is. Therefore, then we know the rule of thumb also, like 6 dB per bit in pulse code modulation. So for 8-bit PCM, the answer is approximately 48 dB improvement. Whereas for delta modulator, if you compare, if you calculate, if you compute it in dBs, it will turn out to be something like 22 dB for n is equal to 8, capital N is equal to 8. Okay, so if you use 8 bit, then signal to quantization noise ratio of PCM is equal to 48, and signal to quantization noise ratio of delta modulator is equal to 22 dB. So not only it is poorer, it is considerably poorer. There is a 26 dB SNR difference. It's a huge, right? SNR difference between delta modulator and pulse code modulation. But mind you, this is a situation for a simple delta modulator. Okay, we are not using adaptive delta modulator, but we are comparing with a simple delta modulator. We never really use a simple delta modulator in practice. In practice, we never really use delta modulator. Okay, only this is for theoretical purpose, only for academic interest we are doing this. Okay, so we already understand quite well that a simple delta modulator is not a very good one, but it is quite clear now quantitatively how poor it is, so how useless it is in comparison with the pulse code modulation. On the other hand, if you use adaptive delta modulator ADM, that is a suitably designed adaptive delta modulator, can be made to perform at the same bandwidth, fairly similar to PCM, but not equal to PCM, but almost fairly, its performance is much better than delta modulator, but not much better than pulse code modulation. Pulse code modulation is the superior compared to any other modulation scheme. Okay, so this result just I am giving you. We are not really doing an analysis of adaptive delta modulator, but we have taken only delta modulator and how poor the delta modulator is in comparison with the pulse code modulation. Okay, but there have been theoretical as well as experimental investigations on adaptive delta modulation, and people have been able to realize performance as good as PCM by using adaptive delta modulation schemes. Therefore, the net conclusion is that we cannot get the same kind of performance from delta modulator as from PCM, pulse code modulation. But we can do so by using a suitable adaptive delta modulator. But we cannot say that the adaptive delta modulator is better than pulse code modulation. Okay, so you cannot get it better than PCM. No system can give better than pulse code modulation. Not only this advantage, one more advantage is also there. Okay, by using adaptive delta modulator, you are just managed, you are just about managed to get equal to PCM, but not exactly very close to it. Okay, not exactly equal to PCM, but very close to it. Maybe this way or that way, it is really not much better. It doesn't score over PCM. ADM does not score over PCM. PCM is the ultimate. Now, what is the implication of this delta modulator and its comparison? Okay, historically the implication was that a delta modulator, particularly in the adaptive form, was a preferred kind of conversion technique. Why is it preferred technique? This one is adaptive delta modulator is a preferred one. What is the reason? Because of the simplicity of adaptive delta modulator. Pulse code modulation system is a complex system, but a delta modulator is simpler system. So people prefer to use adaptive delta modulator wherever you don't want to put complex circuit. Yeah, but what happened over the years, more recently, in fact PCM becoming because of the technological advancement and VLSI, PCM becoming the de facto standard. FACTO, de facto standard, because technology has made implementation fairly easy because of the development of VLSI and sophisticated digital signal processing and all. And one more advantage is there why people are interested in using pulse code modulation, that let's say a pulse code modulation gives binary representation for each sample. Okay, you take the message signal, sample it, quantize it, and after that what you are getting, that is the quantized amplitude of the message signal, and that quantized amplitude is represented in terms of binary. So it is a binary number. So whenever you have binary, then there is a lot of advantage for you. You can do the signal processing on it. You can amplify it. You can add it with another signal. So because of that, only now, especially in speech processing and music signal processing and all, there are so much development has occurred. Like a 5 channels, 7 channels music systems and all has come because of this advantage which is given by the pulse code modulation. Okay, normally it gives the natural output of your pulse code modulation is binary. Okay, but this kind of representation is not available to you, at least in the delta modulator, because in delta modulator your representation is being obtained rather indirect way. See, the delta modulator output is not the binary representation of the sampled value. Therefore, there is no direct correlation between the bits that are coming out and the sampled values in delta modulator. Whereas in a PCM, there is a direct correlation in the sampled values in a word and a binary pattern that is being transmitted. Therefore, you want to do some arithmetic operations or digital signal processing along the way, you can do it much more easily using the pulse code modulation format than a delta modulator format. Okay, so because of other advantages and because technology has made the simplicity of the delta modulator rather unimportant. Even though the PCM is complex, the PCM is becoming the de facto standard and de facto preferred mode of digitization rather than delta modulator. But it doesn't mean that delta modulator is no longer of interest. Okay, there are many applications where it is still of interest. I think that's the comparison. That's enough comparison between the pulse code modulation and delta modulation. So we have discussed till now like how to convert the analog signal to digital pulse or okay. So how to represent an analog signal digitally. Okay, but I think that's the end of the series, like how to convert the analog signal to digital signal. But at the same time, we are not still quite finished with the PCM. So one more topic is left out in pulse code modulation, because the pulse code modulation gives one more advantage, that whenever you want to transmit a voice signal over a long haul or a long distance, then pulse code modulation will save you a lot of things, okay, especially in terms of resources. And one of the primary purposes for which we do PCM, besides the other advantage of digital communication, is time division multiplexing, okay, that I already mentioned in the beginning of this course. So you can do time division multiplexing with the help of pulse code modulation. Okay, suppose you are in a city 1, let's say Delhi, and another city, let's say Mumbai. So in between Delhi and Mumbai, there are thousands of voice calls. I cannot put a separate pair for each voice call. Okay, so what I can do is I can, let's say user 1, user 2, user 3 up to user n. I can put a pulse code modulation system, PCM system, and different time slot I can transmit on the same resource. Maybe this is coaxial cable or some other channel. So that can be done with the help of pulse code modulation. Like if you have a cable or a communication system which could accommodate more than one voice signal. Okay, now you could do so by simply multiplexing a number of voice signals in an appropriate manner. One possible technique of doing this is something called frequency division multiplexing, which we have done in our previous course in analog communication. Here we will be talking about TDM, time division multiplexing. basically the idea of time division multiplexing is that you have a lot of voice coming out, emerging out. Typically you will not be using the entire period of transmitting one bit or one word. Our voice signal it's a low data rate signal, right? In case if you take a human voice and if you are sampling at 8,000 samples, and for each sample you are going to represent 8 bits, then totally you will be having 64,000 bits. So this is the typical duration of your voice signal in digital form. But we are not going to use the 64,000 bits in this channel, because your channel can accommodate more than the 64,000 bits per second, right? So in that case, what you can stuff in between other users bits, and you can club together and you can transmit. Therefore we may use the intermediate period for stuffing additional information from other voice channels. Over certain duration you allot for user 1, and let me divide the time slot like this. In this time slot, let's say 0 to t1, I can put user 1, and t2 user 2. Let's say this is 1 second. In 1 second I am dividing into number of sub intervals, and in this interval you can put u3 information, user 3 information, user 4 information, up to like this, and again afterwards you can put user 1 like that. So you are not going to transmit the entire period for one user, because voice signal data rate is low. Okay, we are not going to occupy the entire duration. So if you have a cable with a large bandwidth which can accommodate not just 64,000 bits per second, but much larger than 64 kilobits per second, because it has the capacity to transmit at a higher bandwidth, then you may like to put additional bits also. You may like to transmit a higher bit rates, and these bits can be interlinked with each other. So that's a basic idea of multiplexing in time domain. So you can do the multiplexing in the time domain, you can do the multiplexing in the frequency domain, you can do the multiplexing in the space domain, space division multiplexing, and in fact you can do the multiplexing in terms of codes, different codes. Those codes are orthogonal to each other, something called the code division multiplexing. So frequency division multiplexing, then time division multiplexing, space division multiplexing, then code division multiplexing, CDM multiplexing and access. And one more method is wavelength division multiplexing, WDM. This is typically used in your optical communication networks. So why are we doing this kind of multiplexing? Like in order to share the resources among different users, so that you can efficiently increase the efficiency of the communication system, because the resource has huge amount of bandwidth. So that huge amount of bandwidth is shared among number of low data rate users. Okay. So you may like to transmit a higher bit rates, and these bits can be interlinked with each other. Okay, so that is the basic idea of all these multiplexing schemes. Okay. So let me talk about this multiplexing in the context of PCM in the next class. So let me stop at this point. Thank you very much.